Fear. It's primal, visceral, it keeps us alive, but it can also be a weapon, a tool for control. Turn on the news, scroll through social media, it's a non-stop barrage of threats, real and imagined. They want you afraid, because when you're afraid, you're easier to manipulate. We crave security, we crave certainty, and those who peddle fear offer a seductive promise. We can protect you, but at what cost? Our freedom, our critical thinking, our very humanity. We become puppets, dancing to a tune of anxiety, orchestrated by those who profit from our fear. But here's the good news. We can cut the strings. We can reclaim our minds. It starts by understanding how the machine works. Ignorance can feel blissful. It's tempting to tune out the bad news, to bury our heads in the sand. But that's exactly what they want us to do. When we're disengaged, we're vulnerable. We need to be informed. We need to understand the threats we face. But we also need to be discerning, to question the narratives we're being fed. Because not all threats are created equal. Some are real, some are exaggerated, and some are outright fabrications designed to keep us afraid, to keep us consuming, to keep us in line. So how do we separate fact from fiction? How do we avoid getting played? Fear is a hell of a drug. It's addictive. It grabs our attention. And in the attention economy, fear is a hot commodity. News outlets know this. Politicians know this. They weaponize fear to boost ratings, sell papers, and win elections. Think about it. When was the last time you clicked on a headline that said everything is fine? Probably never. But a headline screaming about the latest threat. That's clickbait gold. And it's not just the media. Politicians use fear to demonize opponents, justify policies, and consolidate power. They promise to protect us from the other, whether it's immigrants, minorities, or people with different beliefs. And the more afraid we are, the more likely we are to accept their solutions, no matter how extreme or authoritarian. Fear short-circuits rational thought, making it difficult to think clearly and logically. When we're afraid, we're more likely to make impulsive decisions. Decisions we later regret, often because they are made in haste without considering the long-term consequences. These decisions can erode our freedoms and trap us in situations we never intended to be in. Think about the Patriot Act, a piece of legislation that was passed quickly in a climate of fear. Passed in the wake of 9/11, it granted the government sweeping surveillance powers that were unprecedented. These powers have been used to spy on citizens, stifle dissent, and erode privacy rights, affecting millions of innocent people. Or consider the war on drugs, another policy driven by fear. Fueled by fear of crime and addiction, it led to mass incarceration, particularly of minority communities, tearing apart the social fabric. It devastated families and communities, all while failing to address the root causes of drug use, such as poverty and lack of education. These are just two examples of how fear can be used to justify policies that are ineffective, unjust, and ultimately harmful to society. When fear reigns supreme, reason takes a back seat, and we make choices that we wouldn't under calmer circumstances. And that's a dangerous road to travel, one that can lead to unforeseen and often dire consequences. The illusion of safety trading freedom for security. They say those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Wise words. But in the age of terrorism, pandemics, and economic uncertainty, it's a trade-off many are willing to make. We accept more surveillance, more security checkpoints, more restrictions on our freedoms, all in the name of safety. But here's the thing. Absolute safety is an illusion. It doesn't exist. And even if it did, would it be worth the price? A life lived in constant fear is no life at all. We need to find a balance, a way to address legitimate threats without sacrificing the very freedoms that make life worth living. Echo chambers of dread. How algorithms fuel fear. Remember those personalized recommendations you see online? The ones that seem to know you better than you know yourself? Yeah, those are powered by algorithms. These algorithms analyze your behavior, your clicks, your likes, and even the time you spend on each post. They are designed to keep you engaged, to keep you clicking, and to keep you coming back for more. And those algorithms are really good at one thing, giving you more of what you click on. They create a feedback loop that reinforces your interests. So, you watch one video about a conspiracy theory, just one click, and the algorithm takes note. Suddenly your feed is flooded with them, more and more conspiracy theories, each more sensational than the last. You read one article about a crime wave. The algorithm sees this and decides you must be interested in crime stories. Now, your entire newsfeed is a horror show. It's a vicious cycle. The more you click, the more you see. These algorithms create echo chambers of fear, reinforcing our existing biases and anxieties. They amplify our worst fears and make them seem more prevalent. They trap us in filter bubbles, where we're only exposed to information that confirms our fears. This isolation from differing viewpoints makes it hard to see the bigger picture. This makes us more susceptible to manipulation, more likely to believe the worst, and less likely to engage in critical thinking. We become prisoners of our own fears, all thanks to the algorithms that were supposed to make our lives easier. Whispers in the walls, surveillance in the name of security. Remember that phone in your pocket, the one you use for everything? From texting to browsing, it's always with you. Yeah, it's also a tracking device. Every move you make, it knows. And those smart speakers in your home? They're always listening. Every command, every conversation. We live in an age of unprecedented surveillance. Cameras on every corner, in every store. And it's all justified in the name of safety, to protect us from unseen threats. They tell us it's to catch terrorists, to prevent crime, to keep us safe. But is that the whole story? And maybe there's some truth to that. But at what cost? Our privacy, our freedom of thought, our right to dissent. When we're constantly being watched, it changes our behavior. We become more cautious. We self-censor. We conform. We hesitate to express our true thoughts. We become less likely to speak out against injustice for fear of reprisal. The fear of being watched is powerful. This chilling effect on free speech is one of the most insidious consequences of mass surveillance. It stifles creativity, innovation, and the very essence of democracy. The antidote: critical thinking in a culture of fear. So what's the solution? How do we break free from this cycle of fear and manipulation? It starts with critical thinking, with questioning the narratives we're being fed, with seeking out diverse perspectives. Don't just accept everything you read or hear. Ask questions, consider the source, look for evidence, and be wary of anyone who claims to have all the answers. Remember, fear thrives on ignorance. The more informed we are, the less susceptible we are to manipulation. So, read widely, engage in thoughtful discussions, and be willing to challenge your own beliefs. Beyond the headlines, seeking truth in a sea of noise. In the age of information overload, it's easy to get swept away by the tide of sensationalized headlines and fear-mongering narratives. But the truth is usually more nuanced, more complex, and far less exciting than the headlines suggest. To find it, we need to dig deeper. Go beyond the headlines. Seek out credible sources of information. Look for journalism that is fact-based, objective, and committed to presenting a balanced perspective. Support independent media outlets, those that are beholden to their readers, not to corporate interests or political agendas. And remember, just because something is trending on social media doesn't make it true. Be discerning, be critical, be informed, be breaking free. Reclaiming our minds, one story at a time. Every time we click on a fear-mongering headline, we feed the beast. Every time we share a sensationalized story without verifying its accuracy, we contribute to the problem. But we can choose differently. We can choose to be conscious consumers of information. We can choose to seek out stories that inspire, uplift, and empower. We can choose to focus on solutions, not just problems. We can choose to be the change we want to see in the world. It starts with each of us, reclaiming our minds, one story at a time. Conclusion: a brighter future, forged in courage. Fear is a powerful motivator, but it can also be a paralyzing force. It can keep us from living our lives to the fullest, from pursuing our dreams, from creating a better world. But there's another way, a path paved with courage, compassion, and critical thinking. It won't be easy. The forces that peddle fear are powerful and pervasive, but we're more powerful than we realize. Together, we can break free from the grip of fear. We can build a future where reason, empathy, and hope prevail. A future where we're no longer puppets, but active participants in shaping our own destiny. A future where we're no longer defined by our fears, but by our shared humanity.